Welcome back, Deep Divers. Today, we're tackling something that's been absolutely lighting up the charts, XRP. Its recent surge,
Whoa.
well, it's been explosive. Hit new all-time highs.
It really has. Quite the journey.
Exactly. And you sent us a ton of material articles, research notes, your own takes, all buzzing about this.
Yeah, there's a lot to sift through there.
So our mission today, let's cut through it all. Get to the core insights. Like what actually ignited this new peak?
Right.
How far do the experts think it might go? What's it really used for?
The practical side. Yeah.
And, the big comparison.
Yeah.
How does it stack up against the giants, Bitcoin and Ethereum? Basically, your shortcut to getting properly informed on XRP right now.
Indeed. And we'll try to synthesize all those different viewpoints, give you a clear picture, not just the what, but the why it matters for, the bigger financial world.
Okay.
Get ready for some interesting facts, maybe a few aha moments as we explore what's really driving this.
All right, let's dive right in then. The big news, XRP. It smashed its old peak, right? Around $3.40. That's right.
And hit new highs. What was it, $3.66 as of July 18th, 2025?
Yep, $3.66. Pretty impressive.
Super impressive. But what's really the engine behind this? What kicked it into high gear?
Well, what's fascinating, I think, is it wasn't just one thing. It was a mix. Multiple fundamental factors kind of came together.
Okay.
For starters, our sources point to a huge, a massive influx of liquidity across the whole crypto market.
So a rising tide lifting all boats situation.
Exactly. That pushed Bitcoin way up to $123,000, Ethereum to $3,400. So the whole sector felt bullish.
Right.
But then XRP had its own specific boosters. A really crucial one was the resolution of that SEC lawsuit, Ripple versus the SEC.
Yes, the lawsuit that seemed to go on forever.
Right. Well, the partial settlement came through, and it affirmed XRP wasn't a security for secondary market sales.
Huge. That must have removed a massive cloud.
Absolutely massive. Took away so much uncertainty. And look, the effect was immediate. XRP got relisted on big exchanges, Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini back in July 2024.
And sources say trading volume jumped like 17% in just 30 days after that. So regulatory clarity, it makes a real difference.
Definitely sounds like it. And, there's always buzz around ETFs and crypto. What about for XRP? Was that part of that?
Absolutely. ETF speculation was and is a big factor.
Okay.
Hopes for an approved XRP ETF right here in the U.S., they've shot up. Chances estimated over 85% by year end.
85%. That's high.
It is. And we're seeing actual movement. Like ProShares launched 3 XRP futures ETFs just a few days ago, July 14th.
Futures ETFs. Okay. So ways for traders to get exposure.
Precisely. Ultra XRP. Ultra short XRP, short XRP, new tools for traders attracting both the traditional finance crowd and the crypto natives. Plus, you had big names like Grayscale getting ETF approvals around the same time, July 2025. It signals broader acceptance.
That increased accessibility must be a game changer, right? But what about actual demand? Is it just ETFs and speculation, or are people actually buying XRP?
Good question. It looks like both, really. There's definitely strong institutional adoption happen. Large investors are getting more interested in Ripple's tech itself, which drives underlying demand for XRP.
Right, the utility aspect.
Exactly. But you also have significant retail enthusiasm. Smaller investors jumping in, fueling that bullish momentum we see in market cycles.
So it's not just the big players.
No, it's broad participation, which is interesting.
And you mentioned regulation. It sounds like there were some tailwinds there, too, beyond just the SEC case.
Oh, definitely. Huge regulatory tailwinds. The U.S. House moved forward on key crypto legislation.
Which ones?
2 big ones. The Genius Act, that's a framework for U.S. dollar stablecoins.
Okay.
And the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act. That one aims to clarify, whether tokens fall under the SEC or the CFTC.
The jurisdiction question. Always tricky.
Very. But getting clarity removes major roadblocks for institutions, for exchanges. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, he even called the Genius Act passage historic, said it cements the U.S. position in financial innovation.
Wow. So a lot happening on the regulatory front.
Yeah. And the press charts reflected all this. Technically speaking, XRP held strong support around $2.85. It showed a pattern of higher lows, bullish sign.
Okay.
Moving averages. All aligned bullishly. Indicators like the RSI were high, maybe even overbought territory around 85, 89, but showing strong momentum.
Overbought can sometimes mean a pullback is coming, though.
It can, yeah. But other indicators like the ADX confirmed a strong bullish trend phase. And on-balance volume showed buyers stepping in with force, We even saw a golden cross on the daily chart.
The 50-day crossing above the 100-day?
Or the 200-day. Yep. Another validation of the bullish grip. So technically, fundamentally, regulatorily, it all lined up.
That is a powerful mix of factors. Okay, so the $1 million question, or maybe the $4 question now, where does it go from here?
Right. What's the ceiling?
Exactly. What are the experts saying about future potential?
Well, short term. If XRP keeps this momentum, breaks that $3.66 level, the next targets could be around $3.80, maybe even $4. Pretty soon, like in the coming days.
$4.
Yeah. And a push towards $5 by the end of July. It doesn't seem totally out of reach anymore.
Wow.
Though, you'd expect some profit taking, especially if it hits $3.80. That could cool things off a bit.
Yeah.
Analysts are putting out targets: $3.80, $4.33, even $4.72 in the next few weeks.
As long as it stays above that support.
Exactly, as long as it holds above, say, $2.90 to $3.
Okay, that's the near term. What about a bit further out, medium, long term?
Looking ahead, say Q3 2025, if the legislative progress continues, ETF adoption keeps going. Maybe $4.50 to $5.
Okay.
By the end of this year. With utility growing, more institutions coming in, maybe testing $6 or $7.
$6 or $7. And beyond that, into 2026.
That's where forecasts they get pretty wide.
I bet.
Experts have a big range. Some are conservative, maybe a high of $1.28. Others are way more optimistic, talking $9.25.
$1.28 to $9.25 is a huge range.
It is. And there's even one model suggesting, based on adoption rates, it could go anywhere from $20 to, well, an almost unbelievable $800 per XRP.
$800. Okay, that seems ambitious. What drives that kind of projection?
Yeah, those higher numbers rely on massive widespread adoption. But the general drivers for growth, it's continued institutional partnerships, tech advancements, Ripple keeps innovating.
Right.
And, just basic market cap dynamics. XRP's market cap is still way lower than Bitcoin's.
Easier to double or triple a smaller number.
Exactly. More room for percentage growth. But again, got to mention the cautions. Those indicators like RSI, still suggesting overbought conditions, pullbacks are likely. And market volatility is always a risk. Always.
Understood. Risk is part of the game.
Yeah.
Okay, we've talked price, factors, potential, but let's shift gears. Utility. Beyond the charts, what problem is XRP actually trying to solve? What's its core function?
That's a really important question because it seems counterintuitive, right? How does something designed for near-instant, low-cost transactions go up so much in price?
Exactly.
The key for financial institutions is Ripple's on-demand liquidity system, ODL.
ODL.
This lets them get liquidity, like foreign currency, in real time. They don't have to pre-fund those Nostro accounts.
The accounts banks hold in other currencies at other banks?
Precisely. Those accounts tie up millions, sometimes billions of dollars globally. ODL helps avoid that. It frees up capital.
Okay, so it's about capital efficiency for banks. How does XRP fit in?
XRP acts as the bridge currency in ODL transactions. But the system is designed to minimize the user's exposure to XRP's volatility. It locks in a price for the transaction, which happens almost instantly.
Here's instantaneous, right?
Yeah. So while some people talk about a liquidity pool, it's maybe more accurate to think of market makers. They facilitate the buying and selling on the exchanges where ODL operates.
And they make money on the spread?
Tiny spreads, but on huge volumes. Now, here's the kicker for price. If ODL volume really takes off, those market makers, they need more XRP to facilitate the trades.
So they have to buy and hold more.
Exactly. They'd be scrambling to buy XRP, kind of hoarding it to meet the demand. That buying pressure drives up the price. And a higher XRP price actually enables better pricing for liquidity within the ODL system. It's a feedback loop.
Interesting mechanism. So it's really about making global payments faster and cheaper for these big players.
Yeah.
Is it actually gaining traction? How much impact is it having?
Well, the sources suggest it's pretty significant. RippleNet, the network using this tech, now has partners over 300 financial institutions
300. Wow.
across more than 45 countries. And as of this year, 2025, about 40% of those partners are using XRP specifically for ODL transactions.
40% is substantial.
It is. And that ODL volume itself, it grew to over $15 billion in 2024. That's a 32% jump year over year.
15 billion.
Yeah. And you're seeing big names using it or expanding its use. Bank of America, Tranglo, QNB, they're building out more remittance corridors using XRP.
So real-world use is growing.
Seems like it. Sources say XRP is used in over 70 different currency corridor pairs globally now.
And the speed and cost advantage.
That's the main sell. Settles in 3 to 5 seconds. Compare that to SWIFT, The old system that takes 2 to 5 business days.
Huge difference.
Massive. And fees. Average XRP transaction fee is like 0.0002 according to some sources, maybe up to 0.15% in ODL context. Compare that to traditional banks charging 3% to 7%. It's a night and day difference.
Yeah, you can see the appeal.
And Ripple's not stopping there. They're also building infrastructure for central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, on the XRP ledger, testing in at least 5 countries already.
CBDCs too. Okay, so broadening the scope. Are there other uses beyond payments getting traction? Like NFTs or smart contracts? I know there was talk.
There was, and it's happening, though payments are still the core focus.
Yeah.
The XRP ledger, the XRPL, does support things like tokenization, NFTs, and smart contracts via a feature called hooks.
Hooks?
Yeah, basically programmable logic you can add to the ledger. Allows for more complex stuff like multi-sig accounts, escrow, financial functions. It's still being actively tested, so maybe more on the horizon, but the capability is there. And remember, XRP itself is used to pay tiny network fees, which deters spam. And each transaction destroys a tiny bit of XRP.
Ah, the deflationary aspect.
Right, creates a slight deflationary pressure over the very long term. Even smaller things like Coil for web monetization, they build on the idea of holding XRP.
Yeah.
So yeah, the ecosystem is expanding.
Got it. Okay, let's do the big showdown then. XRP versus the kings, Bitcoin and Ethereum.
The main event.
Yeah. How does XRP really stack up against them? For someone trying to figure out its place, what are the key differences?
It really highlights their different goals, doesn't it? Let's break down some key metrics.
Okay.
Transaction speed. XRP, we said, 3 to 5 seconds, near instant. Bitcoin, slow. Around 10 minutes per confirmation. Ethereum, faster than Bitcoin, around 13 seconds now.
Still way slower than XRP.
Way slower.
Good.
Transaction fees. XRP, dirt cheap.
Yep.
0.000 maybe a bit more contextually. Bitcoin can be $1, $10, sometimes way more depending on congestion. Ethereum, even after upgrades, was around $2.80 early this year. Still orders of magnitude higher than XRP.
Wow. Okay, speed and cost, clear win for XRP there.
Yeah.
What about capacity?
Transactions per day. XRP handles over 2 million currently. Ethereum, about 1.2 million. Bitcoin, around 350,000. So XRP handles significantly more.
Okay. What about energy? That's a big topic.
Huge topic. Energy usage. XRP's consensus mechanism is incredibly efficient. Only consumes about 0.0079 kilowatt-hours per transaction.
Tiny.
Tiny. Compare that to Bitcoin's proof of work, estimated 707 kilowatt-hours per transaction.
Whoa.
Yeah, XRP is like 57,000 times more energy efficient based on those numbers. Ethereum pre-merge was also high, around 62 kilowatt-hours. Ripple's also committed to being carbon net zero by 2030.
That efficiency is a major selling point, I imagine.
Definitely. Then there's supply. Bitcoin, famous fixed supply, 21 million coins ever.
Digital scarcity?
Right. XRP also has a fixed supply, but much larger, 100 billion, no mining. But Ripple Labs still holds a lot, about 45 billion in treasury, 49 billion or so in programmed escrow release.
Ah, the escrow. That leads to the decentralization question, doesn't it?
It does. Decentralization. Bitcoin is seen as highly decentralized. Proof of work secures it, makes it very censorship resistant. XRP uses this unique node list, UNL consensus. It is decentralized, but critics often point to Ripple's large holdings and influence over the ecosystem.
So different models, different trade-offs.
Exactly. And finally, primary use case, Bitcoin, increasingly seen as digital gold, a store of value, an inflation hedge for some.
Right.
XRP, designed from the ground up for cross-border payments, remittances, aiming to be a tool for banks, potentially replacing systems like SWIFT. Very different goals.
That's a really clear breakdown. So boiling it down for the listener, what's the key takeaway? What's XRP's unique spot that Bitcoin or Ethereum maybe don't fill?
I think it comes down to purpose and niche. Bitcoin has that first mover advantage, the brand name, the store value narrative. It dominates institutional reserves for that reason. It's, the digital bedrock for many. XRP. It excels at its specific job. Real-time settlement, providing liquidity for institutions. Speed, cost, partnerships. It's about practical application in finance today.
The plumbing, not the gold.
Kind of, yeah. It's financial infrastructure. And that recent regulatory clarity in the U.S., plus its lower market cap compared to Bitcoin, that gives it potentially significant growth potential within its niche. Higher risk, maybe, but focused utility.
Wow, what an exploration. We've really unpacked a lot there.
Yeah.
The drivers behind the surge, where it might head, the actual use cases, and how it fits into the bigger crypto puzzle alongside Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's clear XRP isn't just, hanging on. It's actively scaling, finding its functional role.
It really seems to be carving out that niche as a tool,
Yeah.
which I think leaves us with a really interesting question to ponder. As these digital assets keep evolving and the regulations get clearer, how fast will traditional finance really adopt these super efficient payment solutions?
Right. Will they embrace it or fight it?
And what new opportunities does that unlock? For global trade, for individuals? What changes when money can move that fast, that cheaply?
A lot to think about indeed. Hopefully this deep dive gave you that shortcut to being really well informed on XRP. Maybe spark some more questions too.
Hopefully so.
Until next time, keep digging for those nuggets of knowledge.